Hey everyone, welcome back, or welcome if this is your first time seeing me. My name is Catherine and currently I'm in my final year of university. So I'm doing lots of job interviews at the moment, and yeah, today I thought I'd talk about my experience interviewing at KPMG. So if you're watching this video, I assume that you're interested in like just the Big Four in general. So I've got other videos talking about my experience at PwC and Deloitte, which I will link down below in the description. I actually found out about KPMG, I think in my first year of uni. So I've sent in like multiple applications, for their internship program, even earlier this year for their graduate program, but I never really had any luck. But this time I actually got through to the interview stage, so I thought today I would talk about that and just the general process. Before I begin, I'll just give a quick timeline in case anybody is interested. So I applied to this particular role on the 24th of August, and it was for their graduate program in New Zealand, and it was management consulting, I believe. So yeah, I applied online, and honestly the online application is pretty good. Like, I think KPMG has one of the best like initial application interfaces, I guess. It's it's designed quite well, so you can pretty much apply like within a few minutes. You just have to fill in a few details, attach your CV, your academic transcript, and then I think the one main question that they have is like, why are you interested in KPMG, and then that role in particular. So I guess in terms of like why KPMG, I think it's always good to mention just being able to like do meaningful work. They have lots of different industries, so you can interact with like public sector, private sector, various clients. And then if you're a person of color, or even if you aren't, definitely mention diversity and inclusion, like you can't really go wrong. And then what else? Yeah, in terms of the role, like why I'm interested in consulting, basically it's again just a dynamic position where you can get to do lots of different things, and obviously I study business as well, so it's quite directly like related. I don't really think there's necessarily like a wrong or right answer, but just do make sure that you write a good amount, because in the past I think I only wrote a couple sentences and then they told me that like it just wasn't enough. So even if you just have to blab on about nothing in particular, they want to see at least one paragraph. And then after that, I think on the same day, I got another email inviting me to do like a video interview. Basically, you kind of just record yourself. And I believe there would also be online assessments as well. I think I had already done them in the past, so I didn't have to do them again. On the 7th of September, actually, I think I got a call earlier than that, but I didn't answer it. They said they would call me back, and then I got another call on the 7th of September, basically scheduling like an actual interview. So this was to be done on Microsoft Teams, which if you guys know how I feel about Microsoft Teams, it's just not the ideal platform, but Microsoft kind of had like a monopoly on B2B software, so what can you do? On the 9th of September, and then the very next day I got another email saying that I had been rejected. So overall the process was pretty fast. I do appreciate that. I guess they're kind of on the tail end of their recruitment season. Like around September time is probably when most people are already like getting their offers and stuff, so they're just trying to like really fill all those places for their graduates for the upcoming year. So I guess don't be afraid if maybe it takes a few weeks more for people to get back to you. Like that's definitely very normal. Anyway, so first off, I'm gonna start talking about the initial like video interview recording. So it's pretty short, honestly. There was only about 2 questions. So the first question was basically you just had to say why you're interested in KPMG, why you chose the particular role. So again, it was kind of similar to the initial application, and I just talked about like diversity, inclusion, being able to work on lots of different things, and also consulting is quite a dynamic like career. You get to interact with lots of people, and it's just a good kind of cross-functional role, I guess. And then the second question was, what do you like to do outside of your studies? Like, what are you proud of? That kind of thing. So I think I talked about my exchange program. So I had studied abroad in Italy. So obviously that's very interesting, and probably one of the only things that like got me through to the next round. So yeah, obviously if you've traveled and lived abroad, like definitely mention that. I feel like that's super interesting, especially for people in that like Big Four space. Everyone loves a trip to Europe. Now talking about the actual interview. So because I applied for consulting, it was actually largely based on a case study. So the night before the interview at about 6 p.m, I got an email like detailing a case study. I think it was about like the tennis club And then we basically, so the email said you had, like, they wanted you to spend about 40 minutes on the case study, so like that's what I did. And then we had to like basically make a presentation and send that through for the next morning. Yeah, I spent honestly not too long on it. Like I didn't really want to work at KPMG. Like I just had a feeling that like I wouldn't get through. So I was like, you know, I'm not gonna waste like 2 or 3 hours on this case study. So yeah, I just did a pretty like quick job over it. Like I didn't really stress too much about it. And then I had my interview the next day at 1 p.m. So I logged on at 1 p.m. and honestly, like the other 2 people weren't even there yet. So I don't think I mentioned, but the interview was with 2 managers from the consulting team. I think one guy was the director and then there was another lady who was the manager. And when I went on to log on, there was only one guy there initially. I think the other lady, like her computer wasn't working, so then she ended up just using her phone like throughout the entire call. And also like side note, I don't want to like blame him, like it's not his fault, but obviously, you know, when you're working from home it's kind of tough, and he had this like 4-year-old kid who was like screaming in the background, which is just not the most professional like situation. But anyways, you know, we powered through. So basically the interview was meant to be like me presenting the case study, and then I was told I would get asked like, I don't know, a few questions, you know, about myself and my CV and all that. Yeah, I started off pretty much just jumping straight into the presentation. I probably talked for about 10 minutes, and then afterwards they just asked me a couple questions. I did like this cost breakdown thing, so they wanted me to go through like all the numbers, and then just ask me some more further questions about the case study. And then that took probably about 20 minutes. And then afterwards there was just 10 minutes of like me asking them questions. I started off being like, what do you like and what's your general experience at KPMG? And to be honest, they gave very generic answers. I think the woman definitely was more like positive in the sense that she was like, oh, you know, it's a great place, like everyone's real friendly and diverse and you can learn lots. But I felt like the guy, he was like, I kind of respect his honesty, but he didn't really make it sound like a great place to work. Like he was like, oh yeah, you know, it's kind of very fast paced, like there's lots of deadlines, and you know, like he didn't actually say the words, but the vibe he was getting was like, oh, I'm super stressed out, like we're constantly doing stuff. So that wasn't really the vibe. And to be honest, like this is okay. If you're watching this, you're probably like, okay, this is like BS, but I'm a big like vibe person, and the energy that I was getting from them just wasn't it. Like I don't know how to explain it, but like sometimes when you do interviews, like you can tell that people are very like happy and bubbly, but like they were just, I don't know, they're just like, they felt pretty down. Like they just didn't really seem like they were passionate about what they were doing. And like honestly, I mean, I'm not really surprised. Like I guess if you're working in a big corporation, like you're just kind of there going through the motions, and it's not like, you know, I don't think anyone's purpose in life is to like be a management consultant. But yeah, anyways, I felt like they could have been a little bit more positive. And they didn't really ask anything about me either. So the way I took it was kind of like, I either thought I had done really, really well, in which case like, you know, they were like completely sure, but I thought it was pretty likely that they just didn't even like me at all, so they didn't ask me anything. Yeah, overall the interview was pretty easy. Like it was half an hour long, and I had expected it to be, you know, like an hour, so I was pretty pleasantly surprised. I remember when the interview finished, like the guy wasn't even there because he just like had gone off to like sort his kid out, which like, I mean, it's fine, but like at the same time, you know, it's a little bit unprofessional. But anyways, overall, like I had a pretty good experience interviewing at KPMG. Like the whole recruitment process, it was pretty, you know, smooth. At the end of the day, if they knew that I didn't have a chance, then it's fair enough that they didn't want to, you know, like ask me more stuff and waste both of our time. When I got the rejection email, I think the main problem was that my analysis wasn't in depth enough. So obviously I don't really have lots of experience in management consulting clubs or anything like that. So obviously my analysis wasn't as professional as they would have liked. I also think that it wasn't super realistic. When they sent me the email, they only told you to spend like an hour, or I think 40 minutes to an hour on the analysis. But I guess most people that apply are probably like super like overachievers, so they actually spend 2 to 3 hours. So I guess compared to some other students, like my analysis wasn't as detailed. Finally, my advice, if you're watching this and you want to work at KPMG or you have an interview, I would say first of all, definitely don't be afraid to apply twice or 3 times or even like 4 or 5 times, because I definitely sent in a bunch of applications and, you know, got rejected a ton before I got my actual interview. So yeah, don't be afraid to, you know, apply various times to different roles. Obviously you shouldn't be sending it like just spamming them with applications, but you know, if it's like during a given year, they might have like a March campaign and then like a September campaign. So if you get rejected during March, like don't be afraid to apply, you know, 6 months later. I think if you do have an interview coming up, especially consulting, obviously it's important to brush up on your case study skills. There's tons of videos on YouTube like how to deal with case studies, like how to use different concepts, different frameworks and all that kind of stuff, which I've looked through in the past, but I just like couldn't be bothered. Like that night I wasn't going to spend like 3 hours trying to prepare a presentation. If you have an interview, best of luck. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you took something helpful or entertaining away from it, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.